Sometimes a trailer drops that doesn't just introduce a new show. It grabs the mythology you thought you knew, flips it inside out, and whispers, "Forget everything, you haven't seen this version yet." And that's exactly how I felt the moment I watched the first full trailer for the Pendragon Cycle, Rise of Merlin. If you've already seen it, you know what I mean. And if you haven't, trust me, stick around, because this is not the medieval fantasy you're expecting. The trailer exploded onto the internet with over 400,000 views in its first 24 hours, which should honestly surprise no one. We're talking about a full-scale reinvention of the Arthurian legend, one that trades castles, chivalry, and polished armor for something far more raw, more ancient, and significantly more spiritual. And hey, while you're here diving into this with me, drop a like or comment. I love seeing how early reactions line up with mine. Stephen R. Lorehead's award-winning novels have always been different from mainstream King Arthur retellings. They're not about whimsical wizards or shiny swords. They're about myth colliding with history, Celtic druid lore intersecting with the rise of early Christianity. And Rise of Merlin captures exactly that, a Britain not yet shaped by Arthur, but trembling under the weight of Roman decline, barbarian invasions, and a spiritual war brewing beneath the surface. From the first shot of the trailer, we're thrown into a Britain unlike any I've seen on screen. It's wild, untamed, brutal, the kind of world where survival isn't guaranteed, kingdoms crumble overnight, and real legends begin in blood, smoke, and prophecy, not polished legend. There's a refreshing lack of Hollywood gloss here, and honestly, it works. In this telling, Merlin isn't the elderly sorcerer whispering riddles to a king. Instead, he's a young man born at the intersection of two worlds, son of the druid bard Taliesin and Charis, a princess from the remnants of Atlantis. Yes, Atlantis. And somehow it fits. There's something almost biblical about the way his identity is portrayed, part spiritual heir, part warrior, part prophet. And his powers? They're not flashy spells. They feel grounded, almost like divine intuition mixed with ancient mysticism. The trailer showcases brutal battles, druidic rituals, and moments of pure quiet awe. I caught myself pausing multiple times just to admire how different it all felt compared to the usual Arthurian adaptations. If you're already feeling that vibe, jump into the comments because I want to know how many people expected this level of reinvention. One thing that immediately stands out, and let's be honest, caused instant discourse is the casting. The show avoids modern Hollywood performative wokeness and instead chooses actors who reflect the ethnic and cultural look of early Britons and Anglo-Saxons. Some people cheer this, others criticize it was inevitable. But whether you agree or not, the show clearly isn't chasing trends. It's chasing authenticity to the period, Lorehead wrote. A creative risk, yes, but risks often make the most interesting art. Tom Sharp leads the cast as Merlin, and even from the brief trailer moments, he carries the right mix of intensity and vulnerability. There's a quiet weight behind his performance, the kind that makes you lean in without realizing you're doing it. Rose Reed, James Arden, Finney Cassidy, none of them mainstream stars, and that's exactly what makes the cast work. They feel like people from that world, not actors playing dress up. Brett Cooper pops up in a smaller role, and Jeremy Boring himself, CEO founder of the Daily Wire, directs several episodes. Now, if you're wondering about production quality, don't. This is easily the Daily Wire's biggest project ever. It's more ambitious than the Hyperions, more visually intense than Shut In, and far more world-building heavy than anything they've made before. Whether you're a fan of DW or not, you can see the money on screen: sweeping highland landscapes, elaborate battle sequences, ancient rituals lit by torchlight, and massive practical sets that feel handcrafted rather than CG glossy. But the thing that hooked me most was the theme beneath the visuals. This isn't simply a fantasy saga. It's about Britain at a crossroads, caught between the old gods and the new faith, between collapsing empire and rising nations, between magic and divine providence. The narration straight up states that only those who believe in the one true God will triumph over the darkness consuming the land. And whether you're religious or not, that gives the story a mythic gravitas most fantasy series don't dare touch today. We also see the threat, barbarian invaders closing in on the island, druidic cults trying to preserve dying traditions, Roman authority fading, and a growing sense that every tribe, every clan, every political alliance is one spark away from total annihilation. It's the ideal setting for a legend to be born, and Merlin, as portrayed here, isn't just a bystander. He's the bridge, the hinge point, the prophecy in motion. A smaller detail I loved, and maybe you picked this up too, is how grounded the action feels. This isn't superhero fantasy. Swords are heavy, shields splinter, armor dense, people die messy, painful deaths. The stakes feel real because the violence has weight. And when Merlin steps into his destiny, you believe he earned every moment of it. Let me be clear, this trailer does not show you the whole plot. It's deliberately withholding. Instead of telling you the story, it invites you into the tone, the mood of the world. And that's smart. Fantasy succeeds on immersion. If the atmosphere grabs you, the story can take its time. Episodes 1 and 2 will premiere for all access members on Christmas Day 2025. Excellent timing for a mythic drama, and the full season drops January 22nd, 2026, exclusively on Daily Wire Plus. New episodes every Thursday. And I'll be honest, I wasn't expecting to be excited about a new Arthurian adaptation in 2026. We've had Merlin shows, we've had King Arthur movies, we've had gritty reboots, romantic versions, magical versions, everything. But this feels like the first take in a long time that actually knows what it wants to be. If you're as surprised as I was, and if this trailer hit you in the chest like it hit me, tell me below. And if you're new here, tap that like button so YouTube knows to send you more deep dives like this. We've got a massive year coming for fantasy, sci-fi, horror, and film in general, and I want you with me for all of it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next breakdown.